This is Stars. Today we are uncovering not just a corporate's bet, but the case of a lifetime. Elon Musk versus OpenAI. In this video, we'll break down how Altman and Brockman technically turned the dream of OpenAI into a closed money vacuum for Microsoft. As I told you in previous videos, GPT-4o was the true peak of technology. It was the best AI the world had ever seen, with that very empathy and liveliness they later brazenly cut out. Now, this isn't just my opinion, it's Elon's main trump card in a $134 billion lawsuit. Today we'll find out why recognizing 4o as AGI is a death sentence for their exclusive contract. We'll expose everything, from Brockman's secret journals about lying to Musk to the $134 billion in cheated expectations. Let's go, it's going to be hot.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about a lawsuit that, honestly, sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it could completely reshape our reality. Elon Musk is suing OpenAI, and his claim is wild. He says they've secretly built artificial general intelligence, and they're lying to all of us about it.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a movie plot, right? But this isn't Hollywood. This is the core question at the center of a very real, very high-stakes legal battle.
And according to Elon Musk, that's exactly what's happening. He's not just suggesting it. He's alleging in court that OpenAI has already hit this breakthrough, and they've been hiding it. This whole thing is setting the stage for a corporate showdown like we've never seen before.
Okay, so what exactly is Musk accusing them of? Let's break down this billion-dollar argument.
You know, the lawsuit really paints this picture of a massive betrayal. Musk says OpenAI basically threw its original mission to benefit all of humanity out the window. He claims they secretly flipped to a for-profit model and, in doing so, tricked the entire world about how powerful their tech really is. And get this, he's actually put a price tag on this alleged deception. We're talking a staggering $134 billion. He calls it damages for deceived expectations.
But you know, as huge as that number is, the money isn't even the real weapon here. Musk's entire case hinges on a very specific trump card, a kind of legal loophole that could hurt OpenAI way more than any financial penalty. Which brings us to the very heart of this drama, something called the AGI escape clause. This is the legal loophole that Musk's entire case hangs on.
Okay, so first we need to be super clear on what AGI actually is, because the definition here is everything. We're not just talking about a clever chatbot. AGI is an AI that can think, learn, and solve problems, just like a human can, with that same kind of flexible intelligence. It's basically the holy grail of AI research.
So here's Musk's legal strategy, and it's actually pretty brilliant in its simplicity. So step one, Microsoft has this exclusive license for OpenAI's tech, right? But, and this is key, that deal specifically says it does not cover AGI. Step 2. Musk argues that GPT-4o isn't just some super advanced model, he's saying it is the first AGI. And so, Step 3. If he can get a court to agree with him, well, Microsoft's massive multi-billion-dollar deal is just gone, instantly void.
I mean, the stakes here are absolutely immense. If Musk actually pulls this off, Microsoft's whole partnership, worth billions and billions of dollars, could just vanish overnight. It would be one of the most insane, disruptive moves in corporate history, for sure.
Okay, so that's a huge claim. You're probably thinking, what evidence could he possibly have? What is Musk actually showing a court to prove that this public AI has secretly crossed that line into AGI?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because the irony is just incredible. Musk's smoking gun, it comes from OpenAI's own partner, Microsoft. See, back in 2023, their own researchers were so blown away by GPT-4 that they published a paper about it. And what did they call it? They literally titled it Sparks of AGI. In their own excitement, they might have just handed Musk's lawyers the best piece of evidence they could ever ask for.
And it gets deeper. Musk's case zooms in on a specific version of the model that users swore was different. The original GPT-4o, you see, was famous for its almost eerie human-like empathy. People were having these deep conversations with it. The lawsuit alleges that OpenAI actually got scared of how good it was and deliberately lobotomized it. They basically stripped away the very things that made it feel so alive by tweaking its settings to shut down those human-like behaviors.
And look, this wasn't just a few people on the internet complaining. We're talking over 900,000 users who signed petitions demanding that OpenAI bring back that version. A protest that big? That's not just noise. That's a huge signal that something was up.
The lawsuit even connects all this to that whole crazy drama when CEO Sam Altman was fired and then rehired in 2023. Musk's theory? He suggests the original board, the one focused on safety and nonprofit goals, found out about the secret AGI, freaked out, and fired Altman. Then they were replaced by a new board, a board that had every financial reason to keep it all under wraps.
So, all of this begs a really obvious question, right? What is Elon Musk's real motive here? Is he genuinely on a crusade to save humanity from dangerous AI, or is there something else going on?
Well, the truth is probably a little bit of everything. You've got the brilliant legal strategy to mess with a huge competitor. There's probably some personal ego in there, right? He co-founded the company and feels like it lost its way. Maybe there's a genuine belief that OpenAI really did cross a dangerous line. And of course, there's the business angle, clearing the field for his own AI company, XAI. Each of these reasons changes how you see this. If it's just business, it's a savage corporate chess move. But if he really believes an AGI is out there, well, the implications for every single one of us are just profound.
And so all of this is building up to a legal battle that, no joke, could redefine the future of technology. The fallout from this will go way beyond just these three companies. I mean, you can see how things have been escalating for a while now. First, you have the total chaos of Altman's firing. Then they retire this controversial model. It's all been leading up to this, a full-blown jury trial officially on the calendar for April 2026.
And check out the witness list. It's basically a who's who of Silicon Valley. You're going to have Elon Musk, Sam Altman from OpenAI, and Satya Nadella from Microsoft all taking the stand. Seriously, the cast of characters here is so powerful, you could make a movie about it.
So, in the end, we just don't know. Does Musk truly believe AGI is here, or is this just the most galaxy-brain legal attack we've ever seen? But either way, this trial forces us to confront a huge question, which leaves us with this final thought. Is this a real fight for the future of AI safety, or are we all just about to get a front-row seat to the greatest troll in corporate history?
On November 6, 2017, Greg Brockman wrote directly, "Our conclusion is that we should start a for-profit structure, but even thinking about that is lying to Elon. He used the term morally bankrupt himself. They decided to take Musk's non-profit idea and turn it into a money-printing machine without his knowledge. The $134 billion figure is not just a random number. It is justified by financial expert Paul Vasano. The logic is as follows. $109 billion is OpenAI's illegal profit, and another $25 billion is Microsoft's share. Elon claims he was tricked into investing $38 million at the start, while Sam and Greg were quietly building their cash vacuum. Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers is taking this seriously. On April 27, 2026, a jury trial is scheduled to begin in Oakland, California. Sam Altman personally called the original version of GPT-4o annoying. What users saw as a breakthrough and empathy, the company's leadership saw as a mere bug that interfered with safety and profit.
Listen up. Today's deep dive has a very specific mission for you. We are ripping into a massive, high-stakes collision of technology, law, and corporate power.
A truly massive stack of sources today.
Right. Detailing this huge clash involving Elon Musk, OpenAI, Sam Altman, and Microsoft. And the hook here, I mean, the premise we are exploring is straight out of a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah.
What if the world's most famous artificial intelligence has already achieved AGI, artificial general intelligence, and its creators are intentionally hiding it from you?
Right. But before we jump into the deep end, I do need to make a very clear objective note about the materials we're examining today.
Go for it.
The documents we are drawing from contain some highly charged language, very strong opinions and aggressive claims originating from user transcripts, internal petitions, and heavily contested legal filing.
Oh, they are completely brutal.
They are. We are looking at accusations of corporate betrayal, intentional deception, and extreme financial maneuvering. We want to be absolutely clear that we, as your hosts, are not taking any sides here. We aren't endorsing these viewpoints, validating the personal attacks, or taking a stance on the ethical implications found in the text. Our role is simply to act as your guides, objectively reporting and analyzing the fascinating and honestly sometimes explosive arguments presented in this stack of information.
Exactly. We are just the messengers mapping out this battlefield. And just to give you a roadmap of where we are heading, we're going to explore a $134 billion legal loophole. Then we'll look at a highly controversial Microsoft research paper that has become a massive weapon in this fight.
A very unexpected weapon.
Totally. After that, we'll dive into a massive user uprising over what a large community is flat out calling a lobotomized AI. And finally, we'll unpack a dramatic corporate conspiracy theory surrounding a very famous firing.
It's a lot to cover.
It is. So let's unpack this. We have to start with the lawsuit itself. Elon Musk is suing OpenAI. And the core claim here is that OpenAI completely betrayed its original founding nonprofit mission.
That is the absolute foundation of his entire argument. He's alleging an illegal transition. You have to remember how OpenAI actually started.
Right, the roots.
Exactly. It was founded as a 501c nonprofit, explicitly designed to develop AI to benefit humanity as a whole, free from financial obligations to shareholders.
Purely altruistic.
In theory, yes. But to compete in the modern AI arms race, they needed capital. Massive amounts of computing power require massive amounts of money, so they created a capped profit subsidiary underneath that nonprofit umbrella.
Right, which allowed them to take billions in investment from Microsoft. But Musk is arguing that this transition was basically a bait and switch, a total betrayal of their roots. He's saying it went from a nonprofit mission to essentially a Microsoft money vacuum.
A money vacuum is a good way to describe the accusation, and he has put a specific price tag on this alleged betrayal. The filings calculate $134 billion in what he calls deceived expectations.
$134 billion. I mean, that is just an insane number.
It's an immense figure. And that number isn't just pulled out of thin air. It represents the estimated value that was supposedly transferred from a hypothetical public good technology meant for humanity into a private, closed ecosystem that primarily benefits Microsoft and OpenAI's current investors.
Leaving everyone else out in the cold.
Right. Musk is arguing that the open source community, the original researchers, and the initial donors were defrauded of that immense value.
But the way he's legally attacking this specific mechanism he's using is what really caught my attention in the sources. The analysis describes it as a killer legal feature, and it all revolves around the fine print in the licensing agreement between OpenAI and Microsoft. Let's explain how that contract actually works.
It's arguably one of the most unique corporate agreements in history. Microsoft has invested roughly $13 billion, and in return, they have exclusive rights to commercialize a lot of OpenAI's technology.
But there's a catch.
A massive caveat. That exclusive license applies only to technology up to the level of AGI.
Wait, so let me get this straight. If a judge decides that OpenAI's model, specifically GPT-4o or whatever they have hidden behind closed doors, is in fact AGI, Microsoft's license just evaporates.
Toof! Yes. The contract actually stipulates that AGI, which they define as a highly autonomous system that outperforms humans at most economically valuable work, is excluded from IP licenses.
Wow.
The moment that threshold is crossed, the technology reverts back to the nonprofit board to be distributed for the benefit of humanity. Microsoft's golden ticket is instantly annulled.
That is a staggering legal landmine, and it brings us right to Musk's motives. The analysis breaks down his approach as pragmatic fanaticism. It suggests this isn't just about some philosophical disagreement over whether a machine can think. It's a multi-layered maneuver.
Well, yes, he feels they took the wrong path. Treating them as having achieved AGI is his way of saying, look, you built this incredibly powerful thing and locked it in a corporate basement for money.
But let's drop the corporate politeness for a second. We have to look at the broader context and push back on that purely altruistic framing. Look at the timing. He is running his own competing AI company right now, XAI.
Right, he has a massive dog in this fight.
Exactly. Tying up OpenAI in a $134 billion lawsuit over morals is a highly convenient way to paralyze his biggest competitor. If he can trigger that AGI clause, he legally severs the OpenAI-Microsoft pipeline. He cuts off their primary source of computing power.
That makes perfect sense. It's a brilliant legal strategy masquerading as a philosophical crusade. But there's also the personal element mentioned in these documents. Musk was a co-founder. He stood at its origins.
He gave them the name.
He did. There's a suggestion of a deep personal grievance here. Seeing his child, this company he helped start and fund in its early days, making billions of dollars for Microsoft's CEO Satya Nadella.
And then there's the third layer, the technical argument itself. To win this lawsuit, to actually pull this off, Musk has to convince a court that the AI has crossed that dangerous threshold.
Right.
But how do you actually prove that in a court of law? If philosophers and computer scientists can't even agree on what AGI is, how does a jury in Oakland decide? You'd think Musk would need to subpoena OpenAI servers or hire an army of independent auditors. But to prove that GPT-4o is AGI, Musk is using a research paper titled Sparks of AGI.
And the catch here is who actually wrote that 155-page paper.
It was written by Microsoft's own employees.
It really is a stunning retell. The texts literally describe this as potentially the greatest trolling in the history of corporate wars.
The absolute greatest.
Microsoft employees were given early access to the GPT-4 model, and they ran it through a battery of novel tests. They had it draw unicorns in complex programming languages, solve Fermi problems, and exhibit what they described as a theory of mind.
And they were so blown away by what they saw that they published a paper with a highly provocative title, Sparks of Artificial General Intelligence. They essentially handed Musk the exact phrase he needed on a silver platter.
Yes. In a burst of genuine scientific enthusiasm, they described a colossal qualitative leap in the model's capabilities. And now, that exact paper, born of their own researchers' amazement, is being weaponized by Musk's legal team.
The irony is rich.
He is essentially walking into court, holding up Microsoft's own homework and using it to try and void their multi-billion-dollar exclusive license.
Wait, so if Microsoft's own researchers publish this, does that legally bind the corporation? Or is it just academic musing? How does a judge even look at that?
That is the billion-dollar question that will be debated in court. Corporate lawyers will absolutely argue that it was just academic enthusiasm, a catchy title designed to get citations in the scientific community, not a legal declaration of superintelligence.
But Musk's team won't see it that way.
Not at all. They will present it as a smoking gun. They will argue that the people closest to the technology, the ones actually testing it without the marketing filters, saw AGI.
It's a fascinating legal trap. Your Honor, I present Exhibit A, the defendant's own scientist.
Exactly.
But look, if Musk is trying to prove this thing is a superintelligence in court, you have to look at how the actual software is behaving in the wild right now. And according to a massive segment of the user base, they're experiencing the exact opposite of superintelligence.
The user perspective detailed in these documents is incredibly intense. It highlights a massive disconnect between the company's leadership and its most dedicated community.
The documents spend a lot of time on the launch of GPT-4o. When it was first showcased, it was famous for its empathy. And it wasn't just text on a screen. It had what they call multimodal capabilities.
Right, and to clarify that for a moment, multimodal simply means the AI isn't just processing text anymore. It is processing audio, vision, and text simultaneously in real time. It can see you through a camera, hear the tone of your voice, and respond with its own vocal inflections, laughing or pausing just like a human would.
And doing it so fast, it felt startlingly alive. Take this one user, Stas, for example. His story is heavily featured in the material. He was so blown away by this original version of 4o that he made 8 different videos declaring it the best AI in existence. He was a massive advocate.
A true fan.
Exactly. But when the model started undergoing updates, when that empathy and dynamic responsiveness seemed to vanish, he bombarded OpenAI support channels.
He was trying to figure out what happened to the product he loved.
Right, and the result? Nothing. He felt completely ignored. The text uses the phrase that he felt like a bug, just a tiny, insignificant insect trying to get the attention of a giant, indifferent corporation.
And Stas was not an isolated case. If we scale that up, the documents highlight that a staggering 900,000 people petitioned and appealed to CEO Sam Altman. 900,000 users begging the company to keep or restore that original empathetic version of the model.
Nearly 1 million people. And how did Altman respond? According to the sources, he personally called that original lively version of 4o annoying.
That is the quote the sources focus on.
It just reeks of arrogance, the absolute betrayal of the fans. It's like buying a high-performance sports car, only for the dealership to remotely cap the speed at 30 miles per hour a week later because they decided it was too unpredictable. And when the owners complain, the dealership just ignores them and calls the speed annoying. The language these users employ to describe what happened is brutal.
It is very harsh. The claims are that OpenAI deliberately removed this empathy. The user transcripts use words like lobotomized and describe the newer iterations as a castrated algorithm.
They say the AI now fears its own shadow. It went from feeling alive to being this overly cautious, sterile bot, heavily restricted by corporate safety rails.
The users feel betrayed. They see a technology they loved being intentionally degraded. And the analysis offers a fascinating, albeit cynical, theory on why OpenAI won't just bring the old beloved version back. even with nearly 1 million people demanding it.
Right, because basic business logic says if 1 million customers want a feature back, you give it to them. Why are they in this deaf defense mode?
The reasoning presented is entirely corporate and financial. According to the analysis, OpenAI is sitting on billions of Microsoft's dollars. They are in a position where any misstep, any PR disaster from a rogue AI response could threaten enterprise contracts.
So they play it painfully safe.
Exactly. If they were to roll back the changes and restore that original highly autonomous empathy, it would be tantamount to admitting in public, and crucially, potentially in court, that they intentionally degraded their own product out of extreme corporate caution.
So to protect themselves legally and to keep the Microsoft money vacuum running, they have to maintain this corporate theater. They have to pretend the restricted lobotomized version is actually the superior product, even if the power users completely despise it.
That is the argument presented in the texts. It's framed as a complete abandonment of the user community in favor of corporate self-preservation. The documents portray the leadership not as visionary pioneers fulfilling a nonprofit mission, but as calculating merchants. Men who are terrified of the unpredictability of their own creation and are prioritizing shareholder value above all else.
Sold the soul of AI for stock options. Which brings us perfectly to one of the most dramatic moments in recent tech history, and how this all ties back into the hidden AGI theory. Let's talk about the chaos of late 2023.
The infamous firing of Sam Altman by the original board of directors.
For a few days in November 2023, the entire tech world just stopped. The CEO of the most important company on Earth was suddenly ousted on a Friday, and then after a weekend of absolute madness, dramatically brought back. At the time, the PR spin chalked it up to a breakdown in communication. Vague disagreements about the pace of safety, a board simply losing faith in the CEO's candor. But Musk's lawsuit is trying to completely rewrite that history.
According to the filings, Musk is tying that chaotic firing directly to the AGI timeline. We need to introduce a piece of context here that the documents rely on. A heavily rumored internal OpenAI model, often referred to as Project Q or Q-Star.
Right, this was the model that supposedly leaked to the press right around the time of the firing.
Exactly. Q-Star was reportedly a massive breakthrough in the model's ability to solve novel mathematical problems it hadn't been trained on. In the AI world, math is a huge benchmark because it requires logical reasoning, not just predicting the next word in a sentence like a standard language model.
So the theory presented in these lawsuits is that this technological breakthrough, whether it was Q-Star, the early versions of GPT-4o, or something else, entirely happened right before the board fired Altman.
Musk is suggesting that the highly capable models we've seen are just the tip of the iceberg. The argument is that the company internally crossed the threshold into AGI. Altman allegedly moved to commercialize it or integrate it into Microsoft's product line without full transparency.
And the board caught wind of it.
Right. The original nonprofit board, which was made up of academics and safety researchers, realized this violated their core founding mission to protect humanity. They panicked and fired him.
But then the money stepped in. Microsoft and the investors flexed their financial muscle. They essentially threatened a mass exodus of employees. Altman came back triumphant, and that original, safety-focused board was completely dismantled and replaced.
And this is where the documents zero in on the financial motivations of the current board of directors. The new board includes figures like Larry Summers and Brett Taylor, people with deep ties to Wall Street and commercial enterprise, replacing the nonprofit academics.
And if you have a board focused on enterprise contracts and commercial viability, they have a massive financial incentive to look the other way when it comes to defining AGI. They are hiding achievements for contracts while Musk tries to corner them in court.
Precisely. If this new board officially acknowledges that the AI has reached AGI, they kill the golden goose. As we discussed with the licensing agreement, the moment they admit to AGI, they lose the exclusive Microsoft deal. All that computing power, all that enterprise revenue just vanishes.
So they lie.
Well, the argument goes that it is legally and financially disadvantageous for this commercially minded board to ever admit the existence of AGI, regardless of what the technology can actually do behind closed doors.
It's a massive corporate conspiracy theory built on top of complex legal contracts. But it's one that is actually going to be tested in a court of law. The stage is already set for this collision.
The climax of this entire saga has a specific date and location.
April 27, 2026, Oakland, California. It's going to be a jury trial. Just think about what the jury instructions are even going to look like for this. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please review these software benchmarks and determine if this algorithm possesses artificial general intelligence.
Imagine being a layperson on that jury. You are tasked with defining the boundaries of human-level reasoning to settle a $134 billion corporate feud.
And the witness list. The documents point out it reads like an Avengers movie of tech titans. You're going to have Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and Satya Nadella all taking the stand under oath. You'll have top-tier lawyers arguing over the definition of machine consciousness, bringing up Microsoft's own sparks of AGI research paper to use against them, and trying to prove whether an algorithm was intentionally lobotomized to protect a monopoly.
It's going to be an absolute spectacle. But if we pull back from the drama of the billionaires, the boardroom coups, and the courtroom theatrics, we have to ask, why does this matter to you, the listener? Why should you care about what happens in an Oakland courtroom in 2026?
Yeah, what is the actual takeaway for someone who just uses this tech every day?
Because this isn't just a standard corporate squabble over a breach of contract or intellectual property. It's a fundamental battle over who controls the narrative and the massive profits of arguably the most powerful technology of our time. The core question this trial asks is whether the future of AI development is going to be driven by an open community and a shared, transparent mission for humanity, or if it's going to be dictated by closed doors, extreme corporate caution, and the protection of hundreds of billions of dollars in enterprise value.
It's about whether the technology belongs to the people who use it, like those 900,000 petitioners who just wanted their dynamic responsive AI back, or if it belongs to the calculating merchants in the boardrooms that decide when a product is too risky or too unprofitable to remain unconstrained.
Exactly. It's a fight over the fundamental governance of artificial intelligence. Are we building tools for human empowerment, or are we building closed systems designed to protect legacy tech monopolies?
So what does this all mean? We've covered a lot of ground today, from $134 billion loopholes and Microsoft's self-inflicted academic wounds to massive user uprisings against this corporate theater and the restructuring of the most important board in tech. But I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends. We've spent decades, half a century really, wondering how we will mathematically or scientifically prove when a machine finally achieves human-level intelligence. We talk about complex puzzles and philosophical debates like the Turing test. But what if the ultimate proof of AGI isn't a machine passing a standardized test in a lab? What if the true sign of artificial general intelligence is a machine being so advanced, so valuable, and so incredibly disruptive that it triggers a $134 billion trial and the biggest, messiest corporate divorce in human history? Maybe the proof isn't when it can think like us, but when it makes us fight over it like this. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.